Hi, this is Dr. Randy Hurst doing a variety of videos about different aspects of life, problems in life, and some solutions. I call some on how the brain works, which is in one of the playlists. Monster taming is another playlist. Monster making is one. Anxiety, addictions and recovery, and I'm not sure if there's another one or not. This particular video is on lessons. Looking at how to understand things that happen in our lives. Things that, if they're good, they're great. Hopefully we learn. Those are the best kind of lessons to enjoy, to notice something, to figure out something, and incorporate it into who you are, what you want to be more about. And some are horrible, maybe traumatic. We've certainly seen in the news recently things that are quite traumatic for the people involved. And the big things that happen in the news, but these things are happening in people's lives every day at different places. Luckily, it's not a huge percentage of the population, but there are lessons that no one wants. That, somebody who has some of these things happen might want to reject them, might want to spend their time angry, blaming, hiding from, withdrawing, avoiding. Those still have possible lessons about what to do, what to be in overcoming, in dealing with, or what not to be. I mean, it's so sad that some of the things that people who do terrible things have had happen in their lives is they've had lousy things happen. In their anger, they lash out at others. And so learning how to deal with things that nobody would want to have to deal with is another kind of lesson. The struggle is, how does one deal with hurt, pain, loss, anger, fear? How can we learn from these things? And, there's not a clear answer at all, other than kind of stepping back to try to figure out, well, what does this teach me about what I want to be about, what I want to do more of, what I don't want to be about? And, are there things I can do proactively that would help me? Are there things that I can do that would help others as well? Right now, this is right after the shooting in Florida, and students are gathering together to try to do something. Interestingly, they're not trying to get rid of guns. They are trying to get rid of, or delay the dates, avoid semi-automatic assault rifles, but not hunting rifles. Many of them have parents that hunt, may hunt themselves. So that's a fascinating struggle. Where do you find a place that you learn, you can be? Are you the person who is going to, in that case, have nothing to do with firearms at all and try to get everybody else to do the same? Or are you the person that is going to stand up for the idea that guns don't kill people, only people do? Or somewhere in the middle? What's the lesson for you? Is there something that you can do personally or as part of a group? The key is, how do you learn? How do you incorporate it into who you are? And how do you change through time? Because when emotions are really immediate, when they're very raw, it can be different than later as there's time to step back, or as the initial reactions have their own consequences for you or for people around you. So, does learning lessons these kinds of lessons, is it set up for better outcomes? Hopefully. And yes, they can, but that doesn't mean it's a guarantee. That's one of the dilemmas about life, is that we are in it with many others, with so many constraints. We have to deal with what we can do, not necessarily what everybody else should do. I encourage people to include as lessons the golden rule. And I have a video on the golden rule, but it's very basic. It'd be a pretty short video because, like one of the other videos, it's very simple. It's not easy to do, but it's very simple. Do to others what you would wish others would do toward you. Avoid doing things that you would hope that nobody would do toward you. Boy, if we could all learn that. I ran across, I was looking at some websites in preparation for this, and one that I particularly liked because it had a kind of a small number of lessons. It's called 7 Brutal Lessons Everyone Has to Learn Multiple Times. And that one is, it's got some good points to it. There's others where there's 30, 100 lessons. Look at those, but really reflect on what are lessons that you have learned, what are lessons you wish you had learned at the time. I know one of the ones that was exquisitely important to me was the loss of pretty much my first love. I was a freshman in college, and I called it wearing the brown helmet, and it was a long time that I hurt. I ran across a book by Khalil Gibran called The Prophet. And one of the things that, I can't say this, I don't recall it word for word, but he made a point that as low as your lowest, or as you feel badly, as you feel pain, that marks how good you can feel. If you try to get rid of bad feelings, you get rid of the good feelings. It's like one sets the conditions for what the other one can be. If you have very positive feelings, could be something that happens that just throws you into the depths of despair. Kind of the same level, but at the opposite direction. And in seeing people for many years, working with them, I found that it's really true. The people who try to avoid all harm end up often avoiding or not experiencing positives, whether it's full-out depression or a kind of withdrawal from pain that also withdraws them from positives. So that's, it's important to sort through the things that happen and the lessons that are in it for us. One of the things that I also ran across years ago, we were at Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home, and there was a poster, I think it was, but it was his 10 rules. And I was looking for a way earlier to be able to pop them up here, but I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So at the end of this video, I'm going to add a little file that allows you to look at those individually and then as a group. Because they're really good lessons even today. They're about basics, about income and savings, about your health, about, there's one that's real tricky about never repenting that you've eaten too little, or something like that. And I thought, wait a minute, what is that saying? It's certainly, oh yeah, okay, you could, if you have to repent that you've eaten too much, that's not good. And we're finding that our health is dramatically affected by eating too much and being overweight, being less active. And so, learning how to balance he presents some of them in these rules, learning how to slow down our reactions and fully decide what we want to do that fits our values best rather than just reacting. He has said things in his 10 rules that really fit wonderfully well with things that I've said in a number of my other videos. I've been playing with the idea of this distinction between fully human choices, thoughtful decisions about how to be, how to respond, versus, and I'm trying to figure out an alternative. And really, because the reactions are kind of, usually they're deeply embedded in a part of the brain that reacts, and it's kind of the animal part of the brain. The animals that don't have a way to stop and reflect will react. And I thought, well, how about anim/me? The trouble is, it's too close to anime, and I don't want the confusion, but I like it. Animal me versus fully human. Anyhow, the fully human person will see these things as lessons and try to make the best, try to approach life rather than hide from life or rage at life or worry all the time about life. Those are ways that can happen, and it's easy for them to happen. Look at the anxiety, where one of the things that when people in anxiety avoid, avoidance becomes rewarding, which then reinforces the pattern of avoidance, which also oddly reinforces the pattern of anxiety, because there's always the what if, the uncertainty. Anyhow, look at some of the other videos. Hope this makes sense. I didn't do a lot with solutions other than the idea of really stopping and looking at how you want to be in the long run, how you want others to be able to see you by the choices you make. I will tie this video up to another file so that you can see what I was talking about with Jefferson's rules. Thanks.